So, you are new in foraging, and you are looking forward to one of the most fruitful times of the year, September, but you still want to be sure you are picking the right thing. Let's visit few of the easy to identify plants you can find this time of the year and mention some important fine details. Even as a beginner forager, you probably know this one. The blackberry. The problem is you might not be sure about certain details. How many blackberry types there are they all edible? And most importantly, are there dangerous lookalikes? Why are we here and what is the meaning of life? Okay, maybe not the last one, but let's answer the previous questions. Yes, all fruits of what we call blackberry are edible. This is assuming it is identified correctly, of course. Closest lookalike you can find is dewberry, but you should not worry too much about misidentification here, since dewberries are also edible. So what is the difference? In short, blackberries will be on upright branches, part of shrub with large thorns, and generally they will have a lot of bulbs as part of the fruit. Well, a lot compared to dewberries, which have fewer of them, and when you pick up a dewberry, they tend to dislodge and scatter in your palm at times. Dewberry has trailing growth, closer to the ground, it's on thinner stems, and thorns are also smaller. Another close relative is raspberry, which is red and ripe and not purple or black like blackberry and most dewberries are. Best way to remember the difference: when you pick up raspberry, it will be hollow inside as the inner part will remain on the vine. When you pick blackberry, it won't be hollow but solid. You'll find blackberries from August throughout September in Northern Hemisphere, sooner or later depending on altitude and some other factors. To be sure to pick the best ones, pick black and dark purple ones in good shape, not reddish ones, and certainly not the green ones, which I assume you would intuitively know already. This is the juiciest part for a beginner forager. Blackberry has no poisonous lookalikes. That is the reason why I chose it for this video, as it's extremely beginner friendly for foraging. Blackberries are a great snack to eat as you are walking, and if you decide to take some with you, it would be best you eat them soon and not let them spoil. Remember to be responsible and pick just what you need. If you want to keep some for later, one of the best ways to preserve them is to make jam. Trust me, your handmade jam from berries you picked yourself will taste 1,000 times better than almost anything you can buy. Some time ago I made a video about making blackberry jam, but there is a lot of ways and recipes out there, so try them yourself. When done properly, an opened jar should be fine up to 6 months at least, kept in an environment that resembles the soles of your axes, cold and dark. These are rosehips, probably familiar to most of us from the tea packaging illustrations, or maybe jam jars. You already know what these are most commonly used for: tea and jam. You will find them on shrubs with thorns, because just like the blackberry, this one is also protecting its babies and does not want us or any other animal to have an easy time if we decide to take its fruits or disturb the plant some other way. Technically they are pseudo-fruits or accessory fruits, but this is not something to overthink about as a beginner forager. There aren't really a lot of rosehip lookalikes apart from hawthorn fruits. Unlike rosehips, hawthorn fruits are more round, and when you open them, you'll find one big seed inside instead of more smaller ones. But don't worry, hawthorn fruits are also not poisonous and actually have some uses on their own. Identifying rosehips is pretty easy, and apart from obvious red fruits, which are not technically fruits, it boils down to identifying roses. Overall look is shrubby, stems have some serious thorns on them, and each stem branch has most commonly 5 or 7 leaves, sometimes 3 or 9, which is typical for roses. While identification of rosehips is beginner friendly, trying to use them is not necessarily so. When When opened, the fruits contain multiple small seeds and small hairs that can be irritable if consumed. Getting rid of them is also not necessarily a quick and easy task, but it surely is worth the effort. Non-gamers might not relate to this, but I will start with one famous game intro here.
This is Helgen. I used to be sweet on a girl from here. Wonder if Vilod is still making that mead with juniper berries mixed in.
You can bet that long time ago I researched could juniper berries indeed be used for flavoring mead, and the game didn't lie. They are often used for flavoring of various drinks, but they have some other uses too. You can try them raw when you pick them, however, unlike the blackberry, you won't be refreshed by a sweet, juicy fruit here. Juniper berry might actually be complete opposite of sweet and juicy, probably best described as piney, bitter, and dry. I do wonder what kind of jam they would make. They can be also used for flavoring meats. And remember, throughout this video we will talk about common juniper plant. This is important as not all junipers are the same. They were perceived to have a lot of medicinal properties as well, but scientific proof is missing for some of them. Generally, it is recommended for pregnant women to avoid juniper berries. Their use goes beyond consumption as ingredient or spice though, as it's often used in cosmetics as well, mostly for its specific fragrance, so you may find it in soaps and shampoos. If you are feeling crafty and creative, maybe you can look up some ways to make those yourself and mix some juniper berries in. These berries are usually picked in the fall when they are deep blue or purple color. Apart from color, you will know they are ripe when they come off quite easily as you pick them, unlike unripe ones that will hang on to the stem much harder. Some recommend leaving these to overwinter and pick them after that, as they have more flavor that way. But if you want to start picking, you can start now as well. This plant is also shrubby and does not have thorns, but don't get your hopes up. It has prickly needles instead, which can be quite painful if you are not careful. This is reason why it's recommended to wear gloves as you pluck the berries. The entire plant is usually evergreen shrub, but can also be a tree depending on growth variety. Here we have common juniper, which is referred to most of the times when we talk about juniper berries. Although variable in growth, the one you will notice and pick are usually the shrubby types. I find their leaves quite interesting, as when you look at their front side, you notice a bright blue line in the middle of each leaf. Underside is less fancy. Most danger here is in juniper species that are toxic. Yes, not all juniper berries are edible. Some of the toxic ones include Juniperus oxycedrus and Juniperus sabina. They are not too easily confused with common juniper though, as the first one has reddish or brownish berries when ripe, and second one has scale-like leaves instead of needle-like leaves of common juniper. I would suggest you focus on common juniper and follow its identification specifics to be sure, and perhaps have a mentor or someone with more experience with you the first time so you get to know the plant well. Pay attention to details and don't go grab any berry in a pine-like shrub you see, unless you want to pay frequent visits to the toilet or emergency room. Outside of juniper species, they don't have any dangerous lookalikes they can easily be confused with. One of lookalikes, for example, is yew berry, which is red, so unless you are colorblind, this alone will be quite obvious difference. Not to mention berry shape is quite different too. Once picked, you can dry them for future use, but they will lose some of their aroma this way. So, now you are equipped with some basic knowledge on easy to find plants, and you can start searching for them. Remember not to take this as complete guide. Consult multiple sources, don't rush, and be careful in your identification. Also make sure you are picking from non-polluted areas and in a way and place that is legal, following your local laws and regulations. Happy foraging!